Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. This is the Tisch WNET studio here in Lincoln Center in New York City. It is our pleasure to welcome Evan Siegfried, who is Republican strategist and the author of a compelling new book. It is called GOP GPS, How to Find the Millennials and Urban Voters that the Republican Party Needs to Survive. How you doing?
I'm great. How about you?
Good. We met each other at a different network, at a different time over at MSNBC, and we were doing a show, and I thought, this guy is innovative. He sees things differently than some other folks in his party or any party. But I kept asking myself, what does he think the Republican Party needs to do to attract younger voters and minority voters in urban areas?
Well, I think the Republican Party hasn't figured out that it has a demographic crisis. At least the leadership hasn't. We have relied on rural voters and baby boomers to sustain us as a party for decades. And now those populations are shrinking because of natural attrition. At the same time, millennials, my generation, which is the largest generation in the United States and the largest sector of the workforce, we are now outnumbering baby boomers, and only 1 in 5 identify with the Republican Party. And that's a historic low. And everybody says, well, they'll just get more conservative and vote Republican as they get older. But that is not happening. We're seeing older millennials still say, I don't want to be a part of this. We don't like what the Republican Party
Why are you?
for. Why am I?
Yeah.
Because I believe in the values of freedom and individual liberty and fiscal conservatism. And when there were certain wings of the party who you could absolutely say are pushing racist policies or racist statements, I don't want to walk away from the party and surrender it to them. If they want it, they're going to have to fight it from me.
Is Donald Trump, President Trump, is he part of the, quote, Republican Party that you just described?
No, he's not. Donald Trump is not healthy for the Republican Party. But this problem really began long before Trump. We were seen as the party of the crusty old white guy who only favored the rich and didn't care about minorities or women. We have this accusation against us that we have a war on women. We don't. If we did, it would certainly be an incompetent war, because look at how we've been able to legislate with both chambers of Congress and with the executive. We can't do anything. But we actually have a really big uphill climb because we only do things that perpetuate these stereotypes. And then when you nominate somebody like Donald Trump, that's taking the stereotype and putting it into the most visual form you can.
Evan, why did the Republican Party allow for, if what you're saying is correct, how and why did the Republican Party then allow for Donald Trump to become their nominee and ultimately our president?
Donald Trump became our nominee because 40% of the Republican Party voted for him. 60% voted against him in the primaries. And unfortunately, when you have 17 other candidates against him, that splits that 60% vote into 2%.
But he beat Hillary Clinton.
He beat Hillary Clinton.
And it was
because
more
Hillary
than just
Clinton beat
old,
herself.
crusty white guys. There were other people who voted for him.
People stayed home because of Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton lost the election by really a total of 77,744 votes. And that's the sum total of the margin of difference in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Hillary Clinton lost Wisconsin by about 10,000 votes. She spent $500,000 on a glass ceiling in the Javits Center that was going to be this plastic thing that was going to shatter and fall on the crowd when after she won. For $500,000, you could be running radio ads, get out the vote efforts in Michigan and Wisconsin, and pick up that 10,000 vote margin. It was an incompetent campaign. They didn't listen to people on the ground. You had Debbie Dingell saying, hey, in September of 2016, we're going to lose Michigan. Oh no, our data tells us we're going to win it by double digits. It was hubris.
So let me ask you, Donald Trump is the titular head of the Republican Party. He is, in fact, the head. It's not Paul Ryan. It's not McConnell. It's not Mitch McConnell. It's him. So based on what you're saying, again, if you are right, what is it about the president's policies that you think will attract or could attract millennials and minority voters?
Well, none, to be honest.
But he is the president, and he's going to be the president for several years.
Well, if you look at younger Republicans as well, we aren't exactly big fans of what this president is doing. His approval rating among young Republicans is not great. And then if you also look at what has happened among younger Republicans from December 2015 to March 2017, Republicans 18 to 29, 23% left the party. That coincides with the rise. They became independents. They didn't want to be a part of this.
So let's fast forward. We don't know what's going to happen. We had John Edward, the psychic, here. I should have asked him what he thought would happen in 2020. But here's my question. If Donald Trump, who I believe will be 74 at the time, opts to do this again, to run for re-election, which is not the same thing, Do you actually believe that the Republican Party is capable and or willing to put up a candidate against a sitting Democratic president? Unless I'm mistaken, the last time it happened was in 1980 when Senator Ted Kennedy ran against Jimmy Carter. What was that?
It was 1992.
1992. That's right. He was. My bad.
Pat Buchanan ran as a Republican against George H.W. Bush, and it cost.
In 92 or?
In 92.
So I'm wrong about that.
He took it on in the primary, and that actually bled out George Bush in the primary and caused intra-party fighting.
Thank you for correcting me. By the way, can we edit that out? No. But it's rare.
It is rare.
Could it happen?
It could happen, but the party itself won't. Yeah, I mean, the party itself is controlled by Donald Trump. They're going to be trying to save their own skins, and there are a lot of Republicans in Congress and in the Senate who just want to let Trump essentially take care of himself, and they're not going to go out and campaign with him. They're not going to really help, but they won't say no because they don't want to tick off the base, because the base will throw them out as well. It's a dilemma that they face. You speak up against Trump, you're gone. If you help Trump, it could hurt you in the general election. But
so they changed the tax laws, supposedly better for wealthier Americans. That appeal to millennials?
No.
That appeal to minority voters in cities?
No, it doesn't whatsoever.
Well, then what issues are we talking about that would potentially do that?
We're not. Here's what it's the big problem with the Republican Party and millennials. We're not listening to the issues that impact. We care about debt, student debt in particular. The student debt among all Americans is over $1.2 trillion, which is nearly double the private credit card debt in the United States. The average millennial in 2016 graduated from college with an average of $36,000 in student debt. You know why Bernie Sanders was successful in the 2016 primaries and captured millennials?
He talked about those things?
He talked about those things. His solutions were dead wrong, but he did. No Republican candidate got up there and said, what are your problems and how can I address them? They do the standard, well, we're going to do tax reform. We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. Millennials actually really like Obamacare. The approval ratings for it have shot up. There are many aspects of it that we enjoy and think are beneficial. We want to see candidates who go out there who campaign on delivering results, and then when they're actually elected, they deliver them. Millennials don't care what party it is that delivers results. They want to see results that are good.
Let me ask you this. I often talk to corporate folks, people who run organizations, because I do some other part of my life, I do some coaching around leadership, and they'll say, you know, you can't, there's a thing with these millennials. They don't want to work as hard. They want immediate gratification. They. By the way, half our staff are millennials on the production side. They're extraordinary producers. No, you're not getting a raise today, but here's my point. I've seen nothing but talented, hardworking millennials, but there's a perception that that's not the case with the vast majority of them. Are they wrong? Who's right?
You're right. Millennials are the hardest working generation in the United States. We are the most entrepreneurial, most fiscally conservative. And the perception that we somehow are lazy, it's wrong. It's just like millennials have a stereotype of the Republican Party. Many adults who are not millennials have a stereotype of millennials that we sit at home in our parents' basement eating Cheetos and playing video games and smoking weed. That's not true. Yes, millennials are actually staying in their parents' homes after college longer than other generations. But why? Student debt. Because when you're getting a job that is only paying $30,000 to $40,000 a year fresh out of college, you can't afford a home on your own, or even with a roommate. So you stay with your parents to save money and pay off that massive student debt. It's an economic ball and chain, and it feeds that perception. And then it's also a little bit of an older generation, as always happens, saying, oh, those young kids, it's not like when
it's been happening from the beginning of time. I'll tell you what, this is compelling, fascinating. You should be on this conversation. Check out Evan's book. It is called GOP GPS, How to Find the Millennials and Urban Voters the Republican Party Needs to Survive. I want to thank our friend Joy Reid, who's been great here. She brought us together, and I hope to see you again, both here and there. Thanks
Absolutely.
so much.
Thank
Stay
you.
right there. Be right back from the Tisch WNET studio right after this.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Summit Medical Group, Wells Fargo, the New Jersey Education Association, Caldwell University, Kessler Foundation, the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor, and by Choose New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.